Welcome to my channel and stopping by. I'm Elizabeth Liz Muschett, and today Justin Crockett Elzie, my friend and fellow astrologer, is joining me, and we're talking about winter solstice, the return of the light. How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing great, Liz. Thanks for having me on this winter solstice show.
Thanks for joining me. So, Justin Crockett Elzie is an archetypal astrologer and Jyotish astrologer, teacher, author, and seer. And you can reach him at justin.elzie@gmail.com. I'm an astrologer, author, and intuitive, and you can reach me at my website, alightpath.com. And we're looking at the winter solstice Capricorn Ingress, the return of the light. Capricorn is a cardinal modality. It initiates, and it's the change of the season. It's an earth element for grounding, ruled by the planet Saturn. And solstice is the shortest daylight in the northern hemisphere and begins a new season. Capricorn's about structure, boundaries, and leadership. And some cautions are a lack of patience and how we use power. Would you like to add anything, Justin?
No, I think you got it covered really well there. I will add something for the folks. Why we call it cardinal, because cardinal signs are at the beginning of each season, so that's why we call them cardinal signs. Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, and Libra.
And I'll let you tell about the mundane astrology rules for an ingress chart.
Yeah, so mundane astrology is actually the astrology of the world astrology of governments and populations and civilizations. And when we look at a chart, a mundane astrology chart, there's a rule for the ascendant and how long the chart is good for. So when we're pulling a chart for during the equinoxes or the solstice, if the ascendant is in a fixed sign, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, the chart is valid for a year. If the ascendant is in a mutable sign, which is Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Pisces, the chart is valid for 6 months. Which, by the way, because we have a chart for Greenwich, England, for this chart, world chart, it is a mutable sign, and today. And if the ascendant is in a cardinal sign, Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn, the chart is valid for 3 months. And so, of course, we'll all be looking at the next chart during the spring equinox when the sun moves into Aries, and we'll take a look at charts then to see what it looks like. But today we're looking at the winter solstice one.
And that occurs on December 21st at 3:03 p.m. Greenwich time. And for Greenwich, the sun is in the 7th house of relationships, and the ascendant is 19 degrees Gemini. So we have a mutable sign, so a chart that's valid for 6 months. Would you like to say anything else, Justin?
Not right away, no, and not until we jump into the particular aspects, but you got it right. So one of the other things we look at is we look at the lunar mansions. And in this particular show today, we're looking at what the lunar mansion is for the ascendant, which is called Lagna in Sanskrit. And we'll also be looking at the Nakshatra lunar mansion for the sun. And why we look at these is it gives us a deeper insight into how, as we look at the ascendant, how we're moving forward in the world and what the next 3 to 6 months is going to look like. And then we'll look at the sun as well, because that shows us how the sun is acting. So for the ascendant, the Nakshatra is, our lunar mansion is called Mrigashira, and it's in the first pada, or first section, which is ruled by fire, and it's called the searching star. And of course the deity for this Nakshatra's lunar mansion is Soma, which was the moon god, and the ruling planet is Mars. And it's the theme of this is really expressive. In the first part, it's the power to give joy and fulfillment, and the symbol is the deer head. So it's always searching. It's always searching for new horizons, and the basis above is to extend, and the basis below is to weave. So that is the energy of the Gemini Ascendant that we're looking at today.
Thank you for adding that. That's very informative. So now we're going to look at the sun aspects. The sun is conjunct Venus, Juno, and Mars. Square Saturn, Neptune, and Ceres, forming a T-square. Opposite Hygeia, and quincunx Uranus and Sedna. So what jumps out at you in this chart, Justin?
Well, is the square to Saturn. The sun squaring Saturn is a creates an energy where we're not comfortable where we're at. Saturn squaring the sun makes us uncomfortable and pushes us outside our comfort zone. So there's a tension that we have to change as we're going into the new year. And so that's what really jumps out to me in this chart. And one of the ways to deal with this is to ground yourself and to really focus on responsibilities for the new year, because that's what Saturn's calling us to do there, to pay attention to our responsibilities and ground and really set some definite goals and see if we can stick to those goals for the new year. What jumps out with you?
Well, I want to add one thing and then I'll say, so that Saturn is ruling that sun. So that square is probably, asking us to pay more attention to it since it's in square with the sun and it rules the sun. Well, I like that conjunction with Venus, Juno, the sun, and Mars. It's very interesting, and it'll perfect closer and closer to January, about the 5th through the 8th or 9th, that they'll be coming closer and closer. So it just feels very powerful having all those planets, those personal planets getting so close. And in this chart, it's in the 7th house, and Juno's about the 7th house. So, there's some pay attention to relationships, I would say. There could be some changes in relationships for good or not good. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it's a time to, maybe deepen relationships or improve on them, or maybe release the ones that aren't working so well for us.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And, I had something just from a mundane astrology perspective, because the 10th house does represent leaders. This does represent that there's going to be a lot of difficult relationship with leaders in the world this year. And Chiron and Eris is there. So, really, our leaders are really playing an important role right now in our society, with that 10th house representing leaders with Saturn, Neptune, Ceres, Chiron, and Eris there. There's a lot going on there. That there's not some good leaders right now, and I think that's what's going to bring us some difficulty to relationships here in the collective.
And what do you think of that quincunx with Uranus to the sun?
Well, I think I think Uranus is really bringing some level of imbalance in how we are, because it's there in Taurus. So there's something about it's asking us to reevaluate our relationships, I believe, here, and which ones bring value to our lives, because it's Taurus versus Capricorn here. So it's asking us to reevaluate the value of relationships and which ones bring us stability and abundance. I think that's what I see out of that, because it's Taurus and Capricorn.
Well, thank you for that. Anything else you would like to add?
No, that's all I would say.
Okay, we're going to go on to the aspect patterns, and we have the T-square that I mentioned earlier between Saturn, Neptune, Hygeia, Venus, Sun, and Mars. And then we've had this minor grand trine going on for a good part of this year, and it'll go through 2026 and even into 2027. Sometimes it'll be separating a little bit, but it's still pretty close to being an aspect pretty consistently for a while with those outer planets.
Right.
So what would you like to talk about, the T-square or the minor grand trine, or both maybe?
Well, I think we can't ignore Mars here, because we're going into the new year here with a really strong Sun Mars conjunction happening in the chart. And Mars, we begin this year with Mars in Capricorn, and we end the year with Mars in Virgo, two Earth signs. And, to give you some perspective on this, Mars, I've noticed that Mars represents how we are moving into the year, because it's all about action, and it's activating stuff in our lives. And last year, we went into the new year with Mars retrograding, which means after that election, a good part of the collective was like, which direction do we go now? Because Mars was going backwards. The direction was going backwards. And now Mars this year doesn't go retrograde at all this year. And it starts the year in an Earth sign, Capricorn, which is about power, authority, and stability and grounding. And it ends the year in Virgo, which is trying to find some sense of order in their lives. And I think Mars is really bookending this year with two signs that are helping us ground and to build stability in a world that's full of chaos at this particular period of time. But the fact that it's we start the year off here with a really strong Capricorn Mars, it can be really powerful in us, really, especially, and it also is, there is somewhat of a square there with Saturn here also, along with that sun, that Mars is involved there with Neptune, especially there. And so I think this is, Mars squaring Neptune, which represents the collective, meaning that everybody has got sort of their own path to follow right now. And there's a difference in how people are taking action or responding to things. And we just got to see that's the way it is. And I think what it really means that, you don't have to go along with the group right now. You don't have to go along with the group think with Mars squaring Neptune. You can choose your own path for this year and do things that help you ground in this period of chaos. That's what I would say about the Mars squaring Neptune.
Well, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn, so, really emphasizing the strength of that Mars
Yep.
for sure. And, that T square is just asking us to work on our relationships, to improve them or, gently let them go if they're just not what maybe we've changed and it's just not working anymore.
Right. And I think you're so right, because it's opposing Hygeia and Cancer there in the first house. So again, we have to figure out which relationships are nurturing to us, I think.
Right. And it's what our nurturing needs can change from time to time. So,
Yep.
we're not the same age as we were 10 years ago. So things
Yep.
change. We have different requirements. And then those outer planets have been in that minor grand trine, um, somewhat working together, but they're still outer planets, so they stir things up to a certain extent, but they're kind of working together to move things forward. Do you have anything else to say about that minor grand trine?
No, no, not at all. I think you got it covered.
Thank you. And Justin's going to share the nakshatra for the sun.
Yeah, so every year, this is really indicative of every year when the sun moves into 0 degrees Capricorn. In the Jyotish astrology, it is that 0 degrees Capricorn is ruled by the lunar mansion of Mula, Nakshatra of Mula, which and it's always in the second pada, and which is an earth, it has an earth energy to it, and it's called the star of transport. Now, what's unique about this nakshatra and how the sun acts every year, the ruling deity for this is Niruti, which is the goddess of dissolution and destruction. So in this, and because the ruling planet is Ketu, or the south node, there's always this chaos and ending of structures as we end the new year. This is every year, because Niruti has this, and Mula has this energy to break and to crush. And it's also related to roots, or getting to the root of a problem. So that's why the symbol here is reticulated roots. And so this particular pada has an energy of creativity and the power to destroy. And so it's best energy is best used to creatively change things. And I think this is really what the sun is asking us to do. And it has this same energy every year at the winter solstice when the sun moves into 0 degrees Capricorn. So it gives us a little idea why, one of the reasons why at the beginning, at the end of the year, we always go through this dissolution of structure in some way.
Well, thank you for sharing the nakshatras with us. I appreciate that. And now Justin's going to share some favorable activities for the winter solstice.
Yeah, so this, because this nakshatra is the way it is with Mula, here's some favorable activities with the sun in Mula nakshatra, lunar mansion. So any type of laying foundations in our life, and you might notice that I put parentheses around foundations because that doesn't necessarily mean your house. It can, but it can also be any other type of foundation in your life and construction as well. I put that in parentheses. So this is a good time for laying new foundations, whether it's a new project, a new relationship, whatever you're doing and constructing something new. It's also a good time to buy and sell homes and designing, administering herbs and medicines associated with this nakshatra. Also, agriculture. We don't think so much of agriculture this year, but there is such thing as winter planting and gardening. And preparing the soil at this particular time and doing some indoor planting of seeds. It's also a good time for contemplation and meditation, of course. And at the end of the year here, and also getting to the root of any matter that we have not dealt with yet. And again, Naruti's there to help us get to the root of the matter and dissolve and break things down.
Well, and I like that laying foundations because I'm working on my 2026 plans. And, I might not have them all done, but I'm working on that already. And I'll continue to work on that. So that really resonates with me.
All right, awesome.
Okay, we're going to look at the Sabian symbols. They were channeled in 1925 by medium Elzie Wheeler with the assistance of Mark Edmund Jones. There's a saying that creates an image or a picture from each saying, and there's one for each 360 degrees of the zodiac. And we look at the degree before, the degree of, and the degree after to tell a story. So I'll let you start, Justin.
Sure. So we're just looking at the Sabian symbol today for the sun. So Sagittarius 30 degrees. The archetypal symbol we have here is the Pope blessing the faithful, and we've all seen those type of pictures before. We can kind of picture that in our eyes or our mind of the Pope blessing the faithful here. And the keynote or the concept here is the need to pay homage to traditional values upon which the community of spirit is built. And so the key phrase here is personalized worship.
And then Capricorn 1, an Indian chief claims power from the assembled tribe. Power and responsibility implied in any claim for leadership, and the key word is authority.
And then what we're moving towards, Capricorn 2 degrees, 3 rose windows in a Gothic church, 1 damaged by war. So if you can kind of think of what those stained glass windows are like in a Gothic church, 1 damaged by war, probably broke, of course. The keynote here is the necessary realization by any individual making a violent use of collective power. We see that a lot in our world right now. There's some particular personalities making a violent use of their collective power, that it will lead to the inevitable destruction of some of the values ensuring group integration, meaning that incorrect use of power can break down group cohesion. And the problem here is the waste is the opposite of group integration.
And how would you summarize the three?
Well, I think this, to me, really, we talk about, um, again, Neruti's here, the goddess of dissolution. And so there is this energy of breaking and crushing and how the right use of power. That's why we were talking about earlier, caution is the right use of power for Capricorn. I think this is the year, at this particular time of year, we have to be uh, really sensitively aware of our use of power and not to use it in a negative way, but also be aware of other people using that Capricornian type of power at this time of year to kind of break and crush things. And how that can be detrimental to people getting along and so on and so forth. So I think it's just a caution. That's what I get. What do you feel?
Well, it's like take time out to do some personalized worship and, stay strong in right authority, so to speak, instead of like being too authoritarian, perhaps it's like try to find that middle ground
Hmm.
and, maybe eliminate some of the waste.
Yeah, so if we, and I would say if we were looking at individual natal charts here, people might want to be aware of where that 0 degrees Capricorn Sun is transiting through their chart, where 0 degrees Capricorn is in their chart, which house. So this may be where they have a lot more energy right now to make some changes and to have some dissolution of change of structure in their lives right now, where 0 degrees Capricorn is at.
Well, thank you for that. And I want to thank you, Justin, for joining me today. And I want to thank our audience that's watched live and those that come back and watch at a later time. Justin and I are both consulting astrologers. We both have newsletters and YouTube channels. So we always appreciate you liking, subscribing, or contacting us for a consultation. And Justin, I'll let you tell about your slide here.
Yeah, so as Liz has just mentioned really quickly, I'm a consulting astrologer like she is. And the best way to get a hold of me is at YouTube at Astrological Yogi. You can find my channel there, or email me at justin.elzie@gmail.com. And I look forward to hearing from folks.
And there's a variety of other shows. Justin's on my show several times a month. I have a series called the Astrology Star Sisters, Cosmic Connections, Relationship Astrology. So we look forward to you coming and checking out some of our archive shows or seeing our future shows. We do 1 to 3 shows a week. And I want to thank our sponsor, Astro Peregrine Software, an astrology software for Mac and Windows. And you can find out more information on astroperegrine.com. And Justin, thank you so much for being here with me today. And I look forward to having you on again. And we'll be
Thank you.
back before you know it. So we're going
Yeah,
to see
well,
you
I'm
now.
excited for the new year. There's a lot going to happen this year, and I hope folks, take something away from this today to help them kind of set down some structure and stability as we move into the new year.
Yes, do some planning.
Yep.
Thank you.